The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what?
Oh no, he didn't.
Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right, we're live, WTNB Studios, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. Yeah. Some of you are listening to us on Talk 101.3 The Buzz FM. That's on your radio dial. If you tried to get on your TV.
On your radio dial.
On your radio dial. So, hey, we're glad to be in the studio. Today's our Wednesday show, and back with us again, the shrink, Rob Alderman.
Big bow. Here he is.
I've got to tweak my mic in because if I'm not on my A game when Rob Alderman's in the studio, it all falls apart. What's going on, Rob?
Nothing, man. It's been, it's all great. I did have one question. We like to start with the shrink asks Adam a question.
Well, that's always helpful.
Whatever happened to this J-Rob that we had around for 30 seconds?
She has a military husband.
Okay.
And
she gone then.
Travels with him. And so,
okay.
she's kind of the back-end producer side of the show.
Sure.
Although Josh is our main producer. Josh is in the studio today.
Josh is the man.
Out on work release. And Faux show. And so J-Rob's, she's working on the back end. I'm trying to get her back on camera. So I think when she gets back into town.
Originally, it was sort of like she was the foundation and we were the shenanigans. But now, without her there, we're just forced to do everything. And
are you saying we're falling apart at the seams?
I wouldn't say that. I just, originally it seemed like she was going to be a bigger part. So I don't mind saying it out loud. J-Rob, we thought you were going to be part of this.
She's going to be. She's coming back.
Okay, all right. I believe
she's coming back. You got to give her time, Rob.
I will. I'm not as patient as I should be.
That goes without saying.
Yeah. So.
But we're on radio, so we say it.
Yeah, we do.
Is that right?
Yes.
Anybody who frequents the socials will know that Rob is not a patient man.
No.
How was the bubble bath last night, Rob?
Dude, I'll keep having as many baths as the Cubs keep winning.
So for those of you who don't know, the Cubs win because Rob engages in a very tranquil bubble bath.
I'm not the only one who thinks this.
Really?
I mean...
are you sure people aren't just looking for an excuse to take a bubble bath?
I don't know.
Speaking of, this section of the program brought to you by Bliss Day Spa.
Right. No, man, you know what? The bath was just a thing. Everybody knows, right? Like, you'd have to be hiding under a rock right now not to know what's going on in the World Series. And what you don't know is that's really the region of the country where I'm from, and I'm a lifelong Cubbies fan. I'm not a brand new Cubbies fan, though it doesn't matter to me. I don't do the...
You don't do the I'm a real fan. You're not a real fan.
No. Like we take them all. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're rooting for the Cubbies, awesome. I am for real though. Like I hate the Cardinals.
My wife is in her Cubbies tank top today at work.
That's awesome.
Sporting the Cubbies.
There was this. I saw this person yesterday, and she was, I think, maybe a student of one of the colleges around here. She looked that age. And she's having a birthday, and she was completely cubbied out. She had like on a jersey, she had on pinstripe pants, she had on I think some blue stirrups on. Like she was for real, like going all the way Cubs, and she had like blue and red streamers in her hair and everything. And then I was like, huh? And she was sitting there, like so excited, but by herself at this huge table. And it ended up, it was her birthday, and all of her friends, what she wanted for her birthday was for her friends to come watch the Cubs with her and to root as though they were Cubs fans.
Did they show up?
They showed up, man.
Oh,
and the
very
whole
good for
table
them.
filled up, and they all rooted for the Cubs, even the ones that didn't understand baseball.
We want to thank all of the bandwagon birthday Cub fans for coming on the show coming on.
People
don't
realize that I've been mostly listening to the series this year, and it's been magical. I have not been watching the games. I downloaded an app that lets me listen to the local Chicago sports radio, and I've been
All
running
right.
a bath and getting settled in for 9 innings.
It's like Fox News for Cubs fans.
It is, man. It is. And listening to the games, and it has been. If you like sports, whether you think you love baseball or you don't, listening to baseball on the radio is wonderful. It's
If you have a
fantastic.
good announcer.
Well, yeah, I mean, good announcers.
I will
help.
say John Schmaltz and the other cat that has been doing a really good job on the televised broadcast.
Yeah,
with
Smoltz
calling the
been
game.
doing good.
Schmaltzy's been doing.
I don't
You got
hear
two
him
teams
because
that are very.
I'm listening to the local guys in Chicago. But
Well, we've been watching it on the televised broadcast because
Yeah.
I've been watching it with my boys. But those teams are so pitch centric that to have John Schmaltz as a commentator,
it's
just
huge.
fits.
Yeah.
And so I've enjoyed his take on how because pitching's intricate. It's not like it used to be.
Right? No, that's true.
So it's amazing to watch. So yeah, if you are not a baseball fan, but you are, I don't know, a fan of just anything awesome, I recommend Game 7 tonight at 8:00.
There's nothing better in sports.
There's nothing better on TV. on
There's
Wednesday
nothing
night.
better. You know what? On Monday, right? It broke a record, right? The World Series was watched more than Monday Night Football, right? For the first time, baseball had more viewers than football. And
Wow.
It also beat The Walking Dead.
Beat The Walking
on
Dead.
Sunday,
Wow.
I guess isn't that Walking Dead's on
Which
Sundays?
I can tell you, I've not seen the new Walking Dead episode this week.
I don't watch it because I
Yeah,
don't need that much pain in my life.
no more misery for
Yeah,
Rob.
no more misery. But anyway, it's so wonderful. I don't even know how to explain as a Cubs fan to be here at this place in time and in history. And in so many ways, everything that was on our back is already gone. Like, I think that's been part of it is, battling our way to the World Series. And now it's like, woo.
Now you're in Game 7. of the
Yeah, now
World
we're in
Series.
Game 7.
Now, I'll tell you, last night, it was almost like, okay, obviously, I've been pretty open on this program because of the historical significance. I really want to see the Cubs win this game.
Yeah.
It is very coincidental that the two cities I visited this summer were Chicago and Cleveland. So for
Yeah.
those of you who think that matters, I'll accept plane ticket sponsors at the
That's
end of
good.
this program.
Yeah, that's good.
So I actually only sat in two baseball stadiums this year, and those were the two stadiums, Wrigley Field and
Well,
Progressive
there was
Field.
only one that was amazing.
Yeah,
and it
that
wasn't in
was-
Cleveland.
Well, I didn't see a game in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
I saw a bunch of Republicans buying jewelry.
It's all right.
So-
Like their ball field's okay, but it is not Wrigley.
It's not Wrigley. Wrigley's amazing. I've said that. But last night, it was almost as if it was rigged to go to a Game 7. Could you? I mean, to a start-off home run by Bryant.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Russell Addison's
Grand Slam.
grand slam. Now, you got to – I'm looking at this kid.
Yeah.
And for the most part, he doesn't show too much emotion, but you got to think in his mind, everything I've ever worked for since I first picked up the baseball as a child was fulfilled in this moment.
Yeah, that's this whole thing, right? Like he was the first shortstop to ever hit a grand slam in a World Series game.
Wow.
All right,
And the second youngest.
second youngest, and like the first Cub in 100 years, or whatever. I mean, there's just so much. And going to Game 7, they were talking last night about Joe Maddon's decision to keep Aroldis Chapman in the game so long. And a lot of people don't realize that previous to being traded to the Cubs, he was actually being trained to be a starter. So he's built up the stamina to pitch 6 innings. So going 3 is not really as detrimental to him as people think,
Well, and
think
Joe-
that it is.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the game, I know we got some listeners. Just hold on. We're going to get to other stuff. But
Yeah,
we're
not
talking
with me. We're
it's
talking this
Game
because I got to
7.
go early, guys.
It's Game 7 of the World Series. We're talking about it. Joe Maddon, the manager of the Cubs, chose to bring in his slinger. This kid throws 100 miles.
108 on average.
Yeah, I mean, he was just 100 miles an hour every pitch, and that's not a fastball.
No,
that's everything.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
So he pitched his obviously his starter to up to inning 6, I believe it was.
Yeah, he got through the 6th. Like Arrieta got all the way through the 6th.
Brought
I
in
think he
someone
might have got to-
temporarily.
yeah.
But even though they were up by 5 runs, they were getting really to the top of their lineup. They're big sluggers, and he just didn't want to take any chances.
That's right.
So he brings in Chapman really pretty much to just shut them down through that part of the lineup,
Yes.
knowing he could get into later innings on the weaker batters.
Yeah.
And it really was. I recognized what he was doing, because I'm following the lineup because last
in
night
the post game, right? Everybody kept saying, "Why'd you do that?" And he said, "Because you got to win Game 6 to get to Game 7."
you get to Game 7,
Yeah.
and he knows that guy's got gas left in the tank.
Yeah.
He's not going to overpitch him. He's 62 pitches in 4 days.
Yeah, no, he's great.
He's got another 50 in him. And so he can go
Well,
to him. But he's
I
also got a
would wager-
bullpen of 3 of his 4 best pitchers waiting.
Right, he's got 3 aces that are ready, and I think we'll see Chapman again tonight. I think we'll see him at the very end of the game. And here's the only thing I have to say is you don't run out of energy in Game 7 of the World Series. You're on straight gas.
Yeah, you can recuperate for 3 months.
That's right.
after
You've
this.
got plenty of time after
You can have
this.
2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yeah, like there's no way. There's no one out there's tired. No one's going to take the field tonight on the Cleveland or the Cubby side and be like, man, I'm just so tired. I just couldn't play that Game 7 of the World Series.
Well,
This is everything.
It's really interesting. To me, it was interesting that when I'm watching the game last night, obviously the Cubs were slugging it. The Indians struggled to hit. But the Indians went, 5 pitchers deep into their bullpen to try to get some consistency to stop some of the hitting. So I actually think the Cubs are probably stronger from the bullpen perspective tonight.
They are.
And that matters.
It does matter.
That matters in Game 7, who's pitching. Now, their top pitcher,
There's
Cleveland's
no
back.
doubt. There's no doubt that Kluber
He's
is
back.
a force. He's a force. And just what I said about Chapman applies to him. He ain't tired. Everybody's been saying on short rest. No, like this is all he wants in his whole life, right? And he's thrown filthy stuff, man. He's been. I mean, I would wager actually that Arrieta through the series been just as good as he has, but like.
Arrieta was great, but you could tell he was starting to tire.
Yeah, he was. But Kluber tonight.
He keeps going. He's like the Energizer
He's
buddy.
nuts, right? But this will be the 3rd times the Cubs have been seen him. We'll have seen him 3 times, and you got to think some of that hoodoo's wearing off. The most important piece of this whole game is the momentum, right?
Yeah.
If you're in Cleveland, you're watching it slip away, right? If you're in Chicago or if you're a Cub on that field tonight, you're getting hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question is going to be in the first 3 innings, right? Because here's what we know does happen. In the 4th inning or so, maybe even in the 1 through 3, Cleveland's going to put up a run. Then right around the 3rd inning, they're going to put up 1 or 2. Then right around the 7th inning, they're going to put up 1 or 2, right? We know that's a given. So let's just say Cleveland's good for 4 runs on average, right, in the postseason. And they've relied on their pitching to shut down the opposing offenses enough for that to do. So what has to happen is tonight the Cubs have got to pounce like they did last night. They got to put up 3 or 5 within the first 3 innings.
Well, they changed the batting order, which seemed to work.
Yeah.
They took some, the Cubs are really weak on the back end and rounding the turn of their lineup at batting. And, of course, they added the DH back in. So
yeah, we got Schwarber in there now, not looking so weak anymore.
Well, until he runs.
Bro.
With a knee injury.
No, who cares? Look, man, he's not going to have to. He was, 3 feet from the wall last night, the one time he hit?
Yeah.
Cleveland's happy he's there.
What's funny is he's, I guess he's the modern day Bambino because,
Man, he is
have you ever
nuts.
watched old video of Babe Ruth rounding the bases?
Yeah.
It's almost like he was confused which direction
He's
to
just
go.
not. He's following the smell of the cheeseburger.
He's like, you mean I really have to run?
Right. No. So we're not worried about that. Schwarb's is going to be fine. Schwarber's going to do great.
So
Incredible.
and a lot of folks don't realize, for those of you who are baseball novices, the American League and the National League have different rules when it comes to designated hitters. So it depends on where you're playing, how your lineup works, and
This
that's a
actually
big
works
difference.
out well for us. I hate that we're not in Chicago, don't get me wrong, but as far as the way the designated hitter rule works, it works a lot better for us in Cleveland than it does in Chicago. So, in Chicago, Schwarber would have to play to hit.
Yeah.
And he can't. Obviously, he can't with his injury. But he can hit, and he can hit great. And he's proven that since he got called back up. His timing is there. The power is there. Tonight's everything
That your grandfather
Right.
ever waited on. I mean,
Yeah.
this is an intergenerational event tonight. We're 6 days away from a presidential election that's probably going to throw us into a constitutional crisis.
Maybe a
and
civil
this
war.
is bigger.
Yeah, this is bigger. This is bigger than that. This is bigger than that.
It's I'll tell you, it's been amazing to watch. We don't watch a whole lot of baseball in my house. We do frequent live games. I love
Yeah,
the
yeah.
atmosphere of a ballpark.
Yeah.
Baseball's never been a sport that I could really just sit back and watch on TV because of the pace of the game.
Yeah.
But when it's the World Series and the hype's there, and every one of those guys are putting it all on the plate.
It's kind of like college basketball, right? Like college basketball is all right, but March Madness is amazing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's October baseball. You know, like postseason baseball is some of the most exciting. That's where everybody like, you got to think about this too. It's not right to compare football to baseball. Like, your seasons are so fun. Could you imagine if football players had to play the amount of games baseball
Yeah.
players had to play? You would never. You'd be in the NFL for 2 years.
And you'd be
Before you'd be broken
yeah,
and
you'd
in a
be-
hospital,
absolutely.
right? You just couldn't. So the people who say, "Well, it's not like football." Look, football. I get it. You know, I got an 8-year-old. You know, I understand football, guys. Like, you love it. That's great. I love football too. I'm a Bears fan. I'm kind of trying to be a Vols fan.
Well,
I'm
and I've said this
trying.
before.
It's tough, and you know,
I've said this
because
before.
I was an Irish fan.
You're more likely in the NBA and in baseball, where you play a lot of games and you play a series to win a championship, to have your true best team, your true champion emerge.
Yes.
Than you are in football, including college football, where you really have the best team who made the best scheduling decisions early on, who suffered the least amount of injuries.
Yeah.
Football really is as much of a game of chance as it is skill. Now, people that Roll Tide people are going to go, but Nick Saban. Listen, I get it. There's a lot of strategy to it. But Nick Saban, had he taken his same coaching skill to a mid-major conference, wouldn't be playing for national championships as often. So I really think that
There's a lot
structure
more
is-
teeth in a baseball field.
But you're right. The pace and the demand of a football game does not allow you
Yeah.
to do more than 10, 11 games a season. And, guys, it's not the people who you know. It's not the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's not the wide receivers. It's the poor linemen who are taking abuse every snap.
Every play,
Every snap. Probably the most undervalued. Nobody buys the lineman jersey.
Right.
You know.
Nobody does.
Michael Orr sold some after The Blind Side came out. But, and then I think
I guess the point I was getting at is
Maurice Pouncey of the Steelers
it's such a
sells his.
different sport, and it has this moment called the postseason, and that's when everybody who has played so much ball all season, made it through the dog days, come out without injuries, right? Like, there's so many factors that happen during a Major League Baseball season, and now we hit the gas pedal, right? Because you were on this marathon through the regular season, and now you get to see baseball at a sprint. So, everything that football fans don't like about baseball kind of goes away in the postseason. But they don't watch it because they don't realize how exciting it is.
Well, I think for tonight, I'm going to be the bad dad. Last night, when the Cubbies had it about the seventh inning, in my opinion, so I sent my sons to bed. Because it was a 3.5-hour game last night.
Yeah, it was not short.
It was a long game, which means a lot of pitching.
Yeah.
Tonight, I'm going to let them stay to the end. If it's 1 o'clock in the morning, my kids are just going to be tired at school tomorrow.
There you go. You're a good dad.
There's more to learn to life
You
than
are
just
a good dad.
the A, B's, and C's of the world.
Hey, I got this one for you. Ready?
Okay.
You're a good father.
It's who I am.
That's for all our Cleveland listeners.
It's for all of those people who can play 3 notes on a guitar.
Well, who you pick for tonight?
I got
Let's
the
get to
Cubbies, man.
Good.
You
should.
It's almost destined.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel for all the Indians folks, and the truth of the matter is I like that team. I like
They're a
that
good team.
Indians
They're a
team.
good team. I like that
I like Kluber as a pitcher.
Yeah.
I love that they have a guy named Carlos Santana.
Yeah, this dude Kipnis, Coco Crisp,
Coco Crisp.
Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
This dude Kipnis is
That
a monster.
dude, where did he come
He's
from?
like 3 for 4 or 4
He
for
looks
5
like
every single game he plays.
Isn't he on every Dude Perfect video?
I don't know where he came from, but that guy's legit. But I gotta say, all the things that I could really like about this Cleveland team I hate you. I hate you, Tribe. I don't. I've been a lifelong Cubs fan, so I'm under no obligation to be gentlemanly about it. I want you to lose. I actually hope Kluber sucks tonight. I don't want him to do well. I do want the Cubs to jump on him. I want Lackey to have an incredible night.
Well, for me, I think what would be
So
amazing.
I hate you.
What would be amazing is not a game like last night. I know it's amazing for you.
Yeah.
But I think this series has been indicative of two teams pretty evenly matched, and I want the single game tonight to
My
reflect.
blood pressure can't handle a one-run game. We got to have like
I
we
want
had
to
last
see an RBI base hit, not off an error, to bring in the winning run in the bottom of the ninth.
night. No, that's all I have to say.
Or you
No.
want extra innings?
I want the Cubs to jump on them in the first three, and then I want to expect a couple runs from Cleveland, and then I want Chapman to close us out at the end.
Well,
You haven't been waiting for this your whole life, so you don't understand.
I haven't, but
there's
listen,
no room. Like there's no
how
room for
epic.
this drama.
How epic can you be? Like, I remember when the Cubs went to the World Series because I woke up in the ER.
Yeah, well, that could be. Listen, guys, that could literally be. I don't know.
So, bubble bath tonight. What scent? Lavender.
Always lavender.
Always.
It's always lavender.
Well,
Always lavender.
Rob, I wish you the best in this
Thanks, man.
game
Thanks
because
for having me on again today.
well, we had you in just for the Cubby
And,
talk.
Yeah, I gotta go. There's so much going on today, guys. But listen, go Cubs, go Man Up America, and if everyone out there who isn't decided, if you guys could root for the Cubs tonight, we'll take it.
And if you're undecided in the presidential election, you're probably no talking.
I don't even know. Listen, I would love for us to talk about all the craziness that's happened over the last week, but I can't do
Well,
it today.
yesterday
so.
we went through the dirt, and actually today on the back half of the show after you leave, we're going to talk about money because when I talked about Trump's dirt, I didn't drill down into the sex scandal. We talked about what the Democrats chose to play this past weekend, which was the money card. You know, his tax returns. They're really hitting on that, his charitability. So we drilled down into that, and I kind of scratched the surface on that. Man, I had just so many people saying, could you talk a little bit more about that? Could you talk a little bit more about what the difference between paying income taxes and a person's net worth? So, you know, we're going to man up on money on the back end of this program. I think it'll be good, but
I
just
gotta
a
go.
lot of materials. So we're going to go to a break, and we're going to say farewell to the Shrink Rob
Go
Alderman.
Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs, holy cow.
Yeah, I think last night I said, oh my goodness.
Yeah, man.
Because that's how I felt about it. An amazing series thus far. Once again, if you are an American, if you've ever eaten apple pie, if you've ever tasted a Cracker Jack, if you're not watching the game tonight, Donald Trump will deport you. You're listening to Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB 27.1, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. We will be back in a moment.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations. Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The good Dr. J. Adam here talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Man Up America. Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. J. Adam sent you.
We are back right here in the studio. Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB. That's Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, a digital TV station 27.1. We just had the Shrink Rob Alderman with us talking a little bit about the Cubbies. I'm telling you guys, it's just been one of those things that I don't know, I needed. And all the stress that's going on. And you guys, for those of you who know me the best, I mean, some of you, if you listen to this show, you know I pay attention to politics. I pay attention to the stock market. I pay attention to those things. And there's a lot to be concerned about. And it's nice just to have a respite, just to have a break, to be able to sit with my boys, have them lay in the bed with me, and to watch baseball. It's just been nice. I hope you take opportunities to do stuff like that with your family. Gentlemen out there, I hope that you take the opportunity to hone in on something you like to do and do it with family. I'll say this past weekend, yesterday we talked about the dirt from a lot of the presidential candidates and the dirt from Butch Jones and all of that fun stuff. I spent this weekend, pulled the camper out down to Harrison Bay, took the kids out camping with some friends. We were able to tune into the World Series and to the Tennessee game and some of the other college football games. But just to be out in the woods and watch sports was really nice. To be around a campfire and to watch baseball and to eat s'mores. Great weather this weekend. Perfect weather. Just wonderful. Took all the kids out. I mean, everybody needs that break. So 6 days. In 6 days, who knows, the world will change. You know, that's how everybody feels. Truthfully, what will probably happen, I think back to 2008 when Barack Obama was elected. And I think to all of the chaos that everybody predicted, I actually went to the theater and watched 2016, which took place in 2012. And it was a film by Dinesh D'Souza, and it talked about how America would look if Barack Obama was elected for a second term. And I actually am a fan of Dinesh D'Souza. I like a lot of his work, but he wasn't entirely accurate. He was accurate on a lot of it, guys. The premise he approached from, Dinesh and a lot of those folks predicted the chaos that has been Obamacare, the chaos that has been your rising health premiums. They predicted a lot of the dysfunction, the polarization of the parties, the international turmoil. They predicted a lot of that. But, we're still here and we're still watching baseball. We're still watching World Series Game 7. We're paying, a crap load for our health care right now. The stock market looks great, and unemployment's gotten a little bit lower, but there's still a lot of people who haven't been employed. Wages are pretty much stagnant, okay? We're still in a very low interest rate environment, which isn't super great for certain aspects. But hey, what do most of you look at? You look at the fact that baseball's on the TV, and when you go to the gas pump here in Cleveland, Tennessee, it's $1.89 a gallon, right? So we feel good about it. I guess that's how we roll. So despite it all, life goes on. A lot of you would say that life goes on predominantly because we had a Republican-controlled Congress that kept things in check, checks and balances, yada, yada, yada. And I get it. I think some of you are probably correct. There's some good aspects to the balance in government. But in 6 days, we're going to find a new normal. So this is what I'll say to you. Next Tuesday night, Man Up America, WTNB, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, will be live from the Venue Creekside here in Cleveland. The Venue Creekside is a sponsor of one of these of this show. We'll be live from the Venue Creekside for a watch party. Anyone and everyone's invited to that watch party. It's going to start at 8 o'clock. We'll run to midnight plus, however late the returns come in. If this winds up being a 2,000, where we won't know by 1 o'clock in the morning, it's going to go to a court case or something, no, we're not going to continue coverage. But we're going to have streamed in there national media coverage. We're going to follow the returns, going to get some comments from local officials. And in general, we're going to go through this transition together, okay? So as a community, the Venue Creekside, 8 o'clock p.m. next Tuesday night, Man Up America live from that show. Come be a part of the live studio audience for Man Up America as we watch the election returns come in. So I promised you that we'd talk about money. We're going to man up on money today. Several of you corresponded with us through the facebook.com/manuptalk, or through our email address, comments manuptalk@gmail.com, saying, hey, when you were talking about Trump's money, I want to hear more about that. I want to understand that better. And I got a lot of accolades from you guys. I appreciate the feedback on breaking down the Hillary email scandal. I had a lot of folks say, I never quite understood. I do now. That's the purpose of this program, is we want you to understand. We want you to understand what's taking place, and we want you to understand exactly what everyone's talking about. So here we are, and we talked about Trump's dirt. We talked about Hillary's dirt. A lot of you feel educated on the Hillary email scandal, but a lot of you want to understand a little bit more about what Trump's IRS investigation may or may not be about. As I told you yesterday, we don't know too much. The article by the New York Times, and there's one today in the CNN article that quotes the Times that says there's just not a lot we do know. What we do know is that Trump, not Trump the man, but Trump the brand, Trump the business, has lost money in the past. That he's filed losses, which have exempted him from paying taxes. He's also borrowed money before. He's borrowed billions of dollars, he's lost billions of dollars, and he's used those billions of dollars of losses to avoid paying income tax, or business tax, no different than anybody else would. Now, when we talk about money, in a lot of ways, we're getting back to something I'm very comfortable with. Those of you who know me know that I am a financial advisor by nature. I am securities licensed. I help people in the market. I help them with mutual funds. I help them with life insurance. I do all of those fun things. I shared education in Bradley County, an $87 million budget. I ran a multi-million-dollar foundation before I started doing personal financial planning. I'm a money guy. I love the numbers. I love the dollars and cents of everything. I was on the finance committee for Bradley County, Tennessee. I love that. But aside from all of that experience, aside from the education on finance, aside from all those licensures I've gone through, those budgets I've managed, the most potent experience I've ever had as a person has been owning a small business. Specifically owning a small business that has employees. And we ended yesterday's show talking about how, with a stroke of a pen, our president, through a memorandum to the Department of Labor, has changed how we can compensate employees, and how it's meant to bring up wages of salaried employees, but it's actually going to hurt nonprofits. It's going to hurt small businesses. And while everybody was staring at McDonald's employees and they're demanding $15 an hour in a raise, everybody already making $15 or $20 an hour is now going to get a double raise because of what the Department of Labor says. Now, if you're one of those people and you make that, it doesn't necessarily mean, because I'm going to tell you how businesses are responding. Department of Labor says they do that, and all of a sudden you make more money. You're not going to make more money. Businesses are going to cut your hours, and they're going to trim back, and this is what's going to happen, and this is how I want to start the money business talk today. these two things, with how money works in a business and how the Department of Labor has changed its ruling. Remember, while you were sleeping, wages have been changed, right? All of this relates back to what's happening with Donald and understanding. So let me tell you, as a small business owner, and if we have other small business owners out there and you have comments, manuptalk@gmail.com, or hit us on Facebook, facebook.com/manuptalk. I'm going to break it down for you. So right now in my business, I have 5 employees, various full and part-time employees. A couple of them previously had been salaried employees. Every year I paid them a fixed sum of money. The goal was for them to work on average 40 hours a week. But if they worked 50 one week and 30 the next, it's whatever the job demanded. I paid them to do a job, a salaried employee. We have now changed that because of this Department of Labor ruling to where now everyone's hourly. So my guy that was making $30,000 a year is still going to make $30,000 a year if he works 40 hours a week. His pay's not going to change. But here's what's going to happen. The Department of Labor says, no, if someone's salaried or hourly, if you're working more than 40 hours, you have to pay them overtime or you have to double up on what you're paying them. And this is our response as a small business, and this has been the response of every small business, including the nonprofits out there. I don't have money in the budget to pay you time and a half for overtime. So I'm either going to pay you more and fire someone or not fill a vacant position, or I'm going to regulate and make sure that you're going to stay in your 40 hours a week for your 30. So what's going to happen is, when I need more work to be done, I'm going to give it to my part-timer who's way below 30 hours a week. So the same amount of work is going to get done for me. It's just going to get done by a different person. And you say, well, that part-timer is going to make more money. Not necessarily. I've taken our part-time employees, and now we're paying less for a starting part-time employee because we know we're going to have to utilize them more. So that's how small businesses adjust to the demands and regulations of government. We know what we have to do in order for the business to stay alive. Now, I'm going to tell you, my small business does not pay for my house. I told y'all I have a career in financial advising. My small business does not pay for that. Any of them do. My small businesses, for the most part, are profitable enough, but most of what we do is we create jobs as we build a little bit, as the business builds. In the meantime, we're creating jobs. I want our businesses to be more profitable, but when things happen like this with the Department of Labor, it makes it very difficult for me, which leads me over to the Trump tax situation. Somebody accused me of saying, you were really hard on Hillary's email scandal, and you weren't nearly as hard on Donald Trump. I told you, I think Donald Trump not disclosing his taxes is a matter of ego. I think he's not as charitable, nor is he successful as a businessman as he likes to express that he is. We know that Donald talks in hyperbole. He's the bigliest, right? Nobody's better than him. That's how Donald talks. So his taxes aren't going to back that up. That's why he's not releasing them. That's my opinion. All right, but I'm going to man up, and I'm going to say that when people talk about Donald's net worth, when they talk about his money, the articles you're reading, the clickbait that a lot of you are clicking on Facebook, are entirely spun to make you think this billionaire's avoiding things. I told you, as a small business, we make adjustments to make sure that we make a profit. And knowing that continued regulations coming from government compels me to find every way I can to stay in business but play within the rules. But they continue to restrict the rules. So as the Department of Labor hands down these rulings on overtime pay and how I compensate employees, we adjust over here as a business to make sure that we can still make a profit, we can still keep the doors open, we can still keep everybody employed. That's what we do. Sometimes that means how we, in consult with our accountants, take our tax write-offs. Sometimes we take depreciation on our equipment, more of it in 1 year, so we can minimize our tax burden. I do that every year, guys. I never avoid taxes. In fact, anybody who knows me knows that I would rather pay a little bit more and make sure I'm okay than try to save a little bit. If in doubt, we pay it. That's my philosophy. I don't want the government in my business. I don't want them in my business. But they are in my business. So when Donald Trump files a loss because he lost money, there's a reason. And I'm going to go back to this constantly. And what I read in the New York Times article about Donald Trump's tax issues, why I said it was unfair. They used a sentence which summarized most of what you guys click on social media. You're on Facebook and you see this thing, and the headlines are always the same, aren't they? The headlines are always the same. They say this: you've got to read this before you vote. Every American needs to watch this video before they vote. You know, everything was fine until this information came out. It's called clickbait. And they feast on the fact that you're so intrigued about what are they talking about, that you just go and click it and you read it. And of course, because it was such a sensational headline and you clicked it, you automatically think it's a good source. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but in my opinion, about 80-90% of those articles on the web, if you look at the website, those aren't reputable news sources. They're partisan news sources. They're a little offbeat stuff. A couple of them, guys, are satirical news sources. The Onion, Babylon Bee. They write articles that are incorrect to be funny because they're satirical, and yet I've had a lot of people read them and regurgitate them thinking that's true. Come on now. But the New York Times is a pretty reputable source, right? And yet they say this sentence where they say, even though Donald Trump's net worth is worth billions of dollars, he paid no taxes in 1995. And I've told y'all this scenario, and I want to say it again to make sure that you hear me. I want you to hear me. Most of you listening to this program, most of you, your net worth is your home, your house, the majority of your net worth. For most of us in working and middle-class America, the biggest purchase we will ever make is our home. What else are you going out and spending $200,000, $150,000, $250,000 on? What are you buying? Most of you, the largest expense you will make is your home. If you're like me, it might be your education. but your home. Now, your home is your net worth. Just like Donald's home and Donald's businesses may be his net worth. Now, what if I came to you and I said that same sentence? Even though Donald Trump is worth $1 billion, he paid no taxes in 1995. What if I came to you and said, even though you have a $250,000 home, even though you are worth $250,000, you didn't pay any taxes last year? And you say, well, if I was worth $250,000, I'd be paying taxes. Not necessarily. I have clients right now who are elderly, who their income falls below, but they still have a house. All they have is a house. What if I went to that elderly person drawing Social Security, and I said to them, you need to pay sales taxes on this house every year. You need to pay taxes on your net worth. What if I said that to you? What would you say? No, I've already paid my taxes on this house. When I bought this house, I paid my taxes. I pay property taxes every year on it, but that's local and governmental. The federal government wants taxes on this again? That's what's happening with Donald Trump. It is unfair to say that because he's worth so much, he avoided paying taxes. Your annual taxation is only based on how much more your net worth increases or how much money you make in that year. And that's essentially what they're saying. There are years in the past when Donald Trump did not make money. Is that revelation good or bad for Donald Trump? It's good in the sense that if you understand that, you know that he wasn't breaking the law when he used those tax loopholes for his advantage, when he deducted losses. It's bad for Donald Trump because there's a lot of years he didn't make money. There's a lot of years he lost money. And here you have this man saying he's the bigliest businessman ever created. He's the bigliest guy ever. No one's better at business than him. And yet his taxes prove otherwise. So that's what boils down to taxes with Donald Trump. But as we man up on money, and we've talked about this with Donald Trump, I think this brings light to something very non-political for us. With the Department of Labor changing wage standards, with the debate over Donald Trump and his taxation. And even in this presidential election, there's been a lot of conversation about the tax code. And the Department of Labor hasn't just handed down rulings on employment and overtime. They've also been handing down rulings on how the finance industry works. They've got this thing called a fiduciary law, where now what's going to happen is insurers and financial advisors are going to become the only industry out there that you can walk in the door and ask them exactly how much they make on something that you're not paying. Now, they've always had to tell you if you paid a fee what you were paying. But now, thanks to the Department of Labor and their infinite wisdom, and really Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, they've sold this as consumer protections. But it's now the only line of work where someone can walk in and ask me or a financial advisor, how much are you getting paid? Now, when's the last time you walked into McDonald's, Taco Bell, and said, hey, guy behind the counter, before I do business with you, you have to tell me by law how much you make. And not only do I need to know how much you make, I need to know how much your manager makes. When's the last time you've been able to do that at any location? You know why you can't do that? Because that's a matter of a personnel file. That's private information, what somebody makes. That's a private information. It's a matter of their personnel file. Only if you work for government or you're an elected official are you required to disclose. Only if you're getting money from the tax environment. But in no private industry can you walk in and demand someone tell you how much they make until now. Because the Department of Labor, who's bumped overtime rules while you were sleeping, has also changed on the financial industry. You say, well, what does it matter? So you're embarrassed about what you make, or you don't want to tell people about what you make. It confuses people because they think they're paying it, because in no other way, form, or fashion are you told well how much someone makes unless you're paying it, and they're not paying it. It's confusing because people don't understand the industry and understand how it works in a lot of ways. So it goes back to, as we man up on money, we have to realize that your money that you have, your money you think you have, is not quite there. It may not be there. We remember the Great Depression, not personally, but we remember it from history. And we know that when people went into a bank to get their money, it wasn't there. It's how your money is spent. It's being regulated, whether you're paying sales taxes, whether you're paying gas taxes, whether you're paying income taxes. All the money you work hard to make may or may not be exactly what you think it is and working in the way that you think it is. Now, a lot of you tune in to talk radio just like this program, even on this station, right? And you listen to the money gurus, you listen to the Neil Cavutos, the Clark Howards, the Dave Ramseys of the world. You listen to them for money advice on how to grow your wealth and how to protect your money and all of these things. And I got news for you guys. I don't care who you listen to. They're not 100% correct. Listen to how they start their programs. Listen to how Dave Ramsey, and I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. I like Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's done a lot to help people get out of debt. But Dave starts that program. This is not financial advice. Dave Ramsey is not a licensed security advisor. He puts you in touch with some folks like that who sponsor his program and pay for him to tell you to go do business with them. He's not like Men Up America, where we have sponsors, but I don't take a sponsor I don't believe in. You know, I tell you to go do business with Home Mortgage Solutions because I know Daryl Whitaker, and I know the kind of business he's going to do with you. I tell you to inquire about Rocky Top Survival Supply because I believe you need to be prepared for a disaster or civil unrest. I tell you to go to Bliss Day Spa because I know they do a good job at what they do. I tell you those things because I know personal. Other people pay to play. Just like Hillary Clinton, they pay to play. But you go to the internet, you go to the radio to get all of this financial advice, and what I'm trying to tell you is you cannot be concerned about your money if you're not concerned with how your money is regulated by government. Everything you make on the employment side of things is dictated and controlled by government. You've got to factor that in your decisions when you vote for people. Not just president, guys. Local delegation, local members. The economy here in Tennessee has a lot to do with what people in Nashville do. You need to be having a conversation with your state legislators. So we're actually going to extend this program Not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're actually going to re-air because of demand. I've promised to re-air the episode we did last week on guns and assault rifles, quote unquote. We dispel some myths about guns and we talk practically about their use, form, and function. We're going to re-air that program tomorrow. But I'm going to promise you we're going to come back and we're going to do a Man Up on Money program. And we're going to have a pretty rational discussion. You know what? I'm going to tell you where Dave Ramsey's right and where Dave Ramsey's not so right. You know, because as a business owner, as much as I love Dave, Dave's not right about everything. Dave's a very successful businessman, but in what kind of business? He's bought real estate, which is an appreciating asset, and he's managed a speakers bureau and a radio station, which is all personnel related. He's never been in manufacturing. If you talk to someone who owns a business in manufacturing, they'll tell you you can't apply pay cash for everything to a manufacturing business. You kill your cash flow. He's never been in product development. He's never been in resale. He's never had to stop. Guys, there's certain things that his knowledge is good for, but you have to ask yourself what you're trying to do and get money knowledge. We're going to dedicate a program to exactly how your money operates. I hope I've started by explaining the difference between net worth and how you pay income taxes. I hope you understand that a little bit better now, because that matters in this election. Because as people talk about Donald Trump, that matters. That's what, that's their accusation to Donald Trump, is that he somehow skirted things. I want you to understand that as a small business owner, why I might view things a little differently than those of you who don't own a small business. And I say a small business owner, I'm also an employer. And I feel the sense of burden that comes with making sure people stay employed. I don't always think about the bottom line and how much money I bring home. There's this myth that's all business owners think about. That's just not the case, guys. That's not the case. Business owners actually care whether or not their folks stay employed. Most of them do. So we're going to talk a little bit more about money and how all that works. We also want you to send in and ask us what you want to understand about money. Comments, manuptalk@gmail.com. Facebook.com/manuptalk. Some of you are going to already be mad at me because I said Dave Ramsey doesn't know everything. Dave Ramsey has said on his program he doesn't know everything. Okay? He said that. There's some things I think Dave's wrong on. I think Dave's wrong on life insurance. His program is good for folks trying to get out of debt. Absolutely. Once you're out of debt, you have a lot more options, okay? But some of you are going to get so hung up on the fact that said, no, listen, Dave Ramsey does great things. Listen to Dave. Dave's probably coming on right after this show on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. You will learn so much from Dave. Listen. But listen to what we have to say on Man Up America, too, about other ways your money works and other ways that you need to be considerate of how money's spent. I'm going to tell you a couple of quick stories before we go today. We got a few more minutes, but I realized that money was a huge part of things when I was the chair of education for Bradley County. And then I had conversations with educators about a lot of things, from school construction to curriculum and teacher pay. And what was interesting was so many of them did not really know exactly how much money we spent in education in Bradley County. They didn't even know exactly how that education budget was funded, where the money came from. Now, a lot of them did. So I spent a lot of time educating folks on exactly how education is funded, both from the federal level, the state level, and the local level. And I noticed that people really were very receptive to that. So before you build a huge financial opinion about something, understand how the money works. And that's what I pretty much brought up the Donald Trump thing for. I think it's unfair. To Donald Trump. Now, y'all know I've had my criticisms of Donald Trump, and I tease about it on this program. But that one, unfair. So when we man up on money, we'll tackle that next week. We'll do a good program on money next week. We'll drill down a little bit and talk about some ways your money can help you. I have these conversations with people every day. I love having these conversations with people, and so I'm anxious to have that. Don't forget, Thursday, tomorrow is the upcoming re-air of the gun episode. So I want you to tune in for that. Tune in to the upcoming episode. We aired that last Tuesday. It's going to re-air tomorrow by popular demand. We'll be back on next Tuesday for our regular program, but then next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, election returns, the venue Creekside. You are invited. Come on down.
We'll have cameras there. You can be part of our live studio audience. So we're just, I don't know. We're excited. I think as we talk about Donald and Hillary that night, we'll just man up on the facts. Let's speculate a little bit about what could happen next, what's happening with Donald and with Hillary. Again, you're listening to Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, right here, 27.1. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. Go Cubbies, and we're out.